Actions of each country. Is this regulated by international law or not? Is this a specific clause or point mentioned in a UN resolution or is it not?
You speak of each individual subject of law's decision, meaning each individual country.
Yes, let's leave it at that. In the scenario we've just modeled for our current world, there's no UN and no international law, so
everyone has their own attitude towards a specific event.
Exactly, especially after the catastrophic wars of the 20th century. Most civilized countries decided for themselves that things can't go on like this, that it doesn't work. Technology is growing, resources are increasing, and weaponry is becoming more intricate and much more terrifying. On the one hand, we need to build a system of interactions where it will be possible to somehow control this, so that we don't end up blowing each other up. On the other hand, countries came to understand that it's far more beneficial to engage in trade and compete in economic markets rather than resorting to tanks, sticks, lasers, and missiles. That's precisely why nations are endeavoring to conform to this new paradigm of their existence in the global arena. Russia...
Excuse me, what countries are you discussing? I care more about economics than politics. Which countries are you talking about that say it's better to trade than to fight, and that a system of relations needs to be built? Who are they?
Do I really need to enumerate them once more for you? Well, I'll begin. Let's once again consider the United States, Germany, and Britain just as an example.
Let's begin with the United States. Please tell me, if that's what they believe, why are they implementing protectionist measures that violate the WTO laws they themselves advocated for? For instance, regarding the supply of goods from China, how does that make sense or align with their stated beliefs? With the very idea of open competitive international trade declared in the WTO rules, which all the organizations you listed are a part of, and the actual state of legislation in these countries, because Britain does the same thing, and Germany certainly does the same thing in regard to that. Well, I'll cite China as an example. I won't use Russia as an example here.
You are only helping my case now. Yes, competition exists, but it's occurring in the economic arena. No one is firing tanks and missiles.
There's no economic arena, excuse me. They impose protective duties on you by law. Is that economic or political?
In this case, it's the normative legal regulation of economy. I'm telling you that they are fighting...
Excuse me one moment, please. The normative legal regulation of the economy, based on WTO rules, must primarily be dictated by WTO regulations, and only subsequently by national laws. However, the United States, for instance, entirely disregarded these regulations, stating, you know what, US laws hold weight, and as for all other laws, it's situational.
My point was and still is this. People don't fight with tanks. They fight with laws, they compete. Let's call it that. They compete.
That's not competition, that's a real war.
Is anyone driving tanks there?
Wait, why do you have to fight with tanks?
That was my point. That was my point.
You can strangle a person with your bare hands. A weapon is not needed for that. You don't necessarily have to use tanks to strangle a competitor. You can just do it without them. You have the power to enact legislation that effectively stifles their progress. Furthermore, you can compel them by leveraging your considerable economic weight and influence to adhere to the regulations stipulated within WTO laws.
But you're answering everything for me. That's precisely the point I was making, that countries have chosen to compete economically and politically. Yes, let's go with economic and politics. Yes. But not with tanks, not
what you think.
No one is shooting missiles and tanks. They decided not to shoot missiles and tanks. Tanks and missiles.
So, economic strangulation?
What do you mean, okay? Who gives the right to say what's okay or not okay?
You cannot use tanks, but you can use the economy.
Exactly, bingo.
But why? Why did they decide that?
Because we don't live in an idealistic world. Every day, every single day, something is after all developing, perhaps not always for the better, but it's moving forward, even if just a tiny bit, by a millimeter. I'm not telling you that the world is living perfectly. I'm not telling you that America is saintly. I'm telling you that they've at least decided not to kill each other.
What has gotten better in the last 60 years?
A lot of things have gotten better. A whole lot.
Examples, please.
Medicine, technology, again. Let's put it this way. Moving away from military force and resolving issues in other areas, such as economics, is unequivocally a step forward and an improvement.
Are there currently more than 2 wars going on simultaneously on Earth?
Right now there might be 40 wars going on. I was surprised myself when I read about it recently. It seems like 3 to 5, but actually it's 40 or more.
So violence hasn't lessened?
Well, listen, if robberies and murders are happening every day, it doesn't mean we should abolish the criminal code. It still exists.
Things haven't improved for you. That's my point.
It's improved. Fewer people are dying, fewer are perishing. The average human lifespan has increased significantly. People are starting to engage in highly specialized productions, whereas before a person had to be skilled in many different things.
Please forgive me, you must excuse me, but the average human lifespan increased due to accomplishments made by humanity over 60 years ago. I specifically set the period at 60 years.
Oh, do you really believe that there have been no changes in medicine over the past 60 years?
Antibiotics significantly extended human life.
But after antibiotics,
Cardiovascular diseases.
after antibiotics, a lot of other good things happened. Are you really trying to suggest that 60 years ago was better than today?
No, it wasn't better. Same. Essentially,
In some ways,
for the general population, nothing has changed. For certain individuals, certain human achievements became attainable, but for specific individuals only. In most other ways, it's all the same.
there are areas where things might have gotten worse. But there are many areas where humanity has advanced much further. To contend that the contemporary world is, in numerous ways, more effective than the world of earlier times. Well, honestly, I'm not certain what arguments we could have about that particular matter.
Efficiency doesn't much affect life quality.
Do you visit doctors? Have you ever had a reason to visit a dentist?
60 years ago, it was much the same. And how could it be otherwise? Efficiency influences an individual's free time, but not their quality of life, for instance.
And free time. Do you know what the only real resource in the world is? It's time. Everything else is just an equivalent of that time. When a person effectively manages and frees up the resource of time, they gain... Convert to what?
Try converting the resource of time into calories of heat, for example. Just give it a try.
To get heat calories, just start moving and jumping now. Heat will be generated. You can generate energy by spinning a dynamo machine or by rubbing, for instance, a woolen or synthetic piece of fabric.
You might lose time, but you cannot directly convert some types of resources from one into another. It's simply physically impossible to do so.
Well, that's correct. The efficiency rate. We've already discussed today how the efficiency rate, or what we call KPD in Russian, is never 100%.
So what's my point? It's that a person's free time, in the last 60 years, it has not been converted into additional accomplishments or achievements.
I disagree.
The number of discoveries humanity makes per capita is decreasing. Breakthrough discoveries are catastrophically decreasing. When I was born, there were less than 4 billion people on Earth, and now there are more than 8.
Do you comprehend that, for instance, for an inventor to create something new, it becomes increasingly challenging to build upon existing inventions once everything conceivable has already been invented? To draw a comparison, I frequently refer to racing cars, like a Formula 1 vehicle where beyond a certain point, reducing each 100 grams of weight, making the car another 100 grams lighter can cost an investment of $100,000. Of course, once there was nothing, and it was easy to just invent a stick. When everything exists, it's harder to invent more. But for this person to only engage in their own work, and for the efficiency rate to not be 100%, but rather 90% of their resources to be spent on this area, someone else builds roads for them, constructs houses, washes these roads, maintains them, controls the economic arena, and creates the legal framework and so forth and so on. Not everyone is obligated to make discoveries. Sir Isaac Newton, most likely, would not have achieved so many groundbreaking discoveries if he hadn't come from a rather affluent family, where others managed his meals and ensured his home was heated by coal.
A valid point, that the emergence of free time was the catalyst for the formation of civilization. I completely agree with you on that. But at last, I've managed to guide you from trivial political issues to what truly matters for humanity. And what we are discussing now is that the free time that people gain additionally due to the increased efficiency of labor, which we currently possess, practically does not lead to further discoveries. That is to say, it offers almost no value.
Once more, you perceive discovery as particular insights. If you perform your job tomorrow even 0.5% better than you did yesterday, that constitutes optimization, and that is truly progress. It's not necessary to invent strings, quarks, or make medical breakthroughs every single day. The essential point is that there are simply more benefits, more good things present in the world today.
0.5% better. What's it for?
Because every action is aimed at a result. Optimization of implementation elevates, it improves the final result. If you are growing food.
Look, what if I were to produce more? Of the product I produce, for instance, but everyone already consumes enough of it and doesn't need any more. What if I could make 0.5% more? Would that really be useful?
You could then work on, for example, the logistics optimization of that product, for instance.
I've optimized it. How is humanity better off?
What do I mean by what? More benefits are being produced, more goods and services. More benefits from by using fewer resources.
Why these benefits?
Why do you need a chair, glasses, a sweater, or a library?
I don't need a second chair.
Well, don't buy a second chair.
Someone will make it. They're more efficient.
If the world continues to operate as it does, the next chair you purchase, or not necessarily you but someone else, will likely offer either superior quality for the same price, identical quality for a reduced price, or even better quality for less money overall. We are currently discussing the effectiveness and utility of progress, development, optimization, and the enhancement of outcomes. I mean, that seems rather self-evident.
We're discussing the fact that the emergence, you're actually quite correct, that increased labor productivity enables people to free up a greater amount of time, because converting it into value, well, at some point it simply becomes unnecessary. We have no need for these values. By values, I mean material possessions or tangible assets.
Why not need it?
We can't generate more spiritual values because that's equivalent to a discovery.
Why not spiritual? Why not? Tell me.